Hello, Mike, and thank you for your time because I guess you are quite busy. Even if it has been a while since your last official games, what have you been doing lately with the team?
Woo, it's been busy. I didn't take much of a break, to be honest with you. I had planned on taking a break, but then kind of situations changed. I mean, we do our normal debrief process and set goals for the off time. We keep players and staff members busy. Everyone has projects to work on. Obviously, we make sure that people prioritize resting first, and there's a different process for everyone. But we do a lot of work on making sure that people have a healthy process for how they spend their off time, and things that can add to the team. Uh, then obviously we brought Nisqy in, and that change was done. So that's something that took a fair bit of time on my side as well. And as soon as that was done, we started working. I mean, the deal was done with Nisqy. Like he actually flew into Berlin before the contract was officially signed. We got like a verbal agreement, and he flew the next day, and then we started scrimming the next day after that. So he was really, really, really on board with getting things going. We were both like, come on, let's do this. Let's go fast. Obviously, things take time, right? Contracts take time. Details take time to iron out, blah, blah, blah. So that took a little bit of time. But so it was pretty much, debrief, set goals, then sign a new player, fly the new player in, start working with the new player. And there's lots of stuff for him to catch up on, right? Like even in terms of things like culture and values, this is how we do things, terminology, communication, like standards we expect from each other. We're quite big on standards. And since then, it's just been scrim, scrim, scrim. We got to get a lot of games in because he's doing a role swap.
Of course, I want to know more about the details behind the arrival of these new players. Did the result of Winter Split impacted your choice?
Results are definitely a part of it. I think it's less about short-term results and more about our concern for the long-term health of the team. I mean, our general consensus from everyone inside the team when we did our end of split debrief was that we are not growing quickly enough. We are not learning quickly enough. We're not improving quickly enough. And it's because we are going in different directions inside the game, outside the game. Like we are not seeing things the same way. And that is causing us to A, lose games in officials, and B, and more importantly, to get poor quality practice. Like lose silly games in practice or not get to practice the things that we're aiming to practice in practice because we're spending so much time figuring out how we play together, right? I think our kind of views were just a bit conflicting in some senses, and it was causing a lot of complication. So that's something that we felt that we had to remedy, and that's basically where the change comes from.
And I don't know if you can answer these questions, but of course, Nisqy seems to be good opportunities. But if it was not available, would Vitality still make a change in support role?
Yeah, I can be open on that. We would have made a change anyway. We already committed very soon after the winter split ended that we felt like we had to make a change because, as I said, internally we just didn't feel like we were improving enough, and the losses that we had and the nature of the losses that we had really hammered that home. We were all really frustrated. Like in the BDS game 3, we gave 6 or 7 objectives in a row from being on soul point, a decent point in the game. And that's just something that we felt was like specifically due to the poor quality of practice that we had previously. And that is because of the reasons I highlighted, right? So that's something that we had already committed to. We made the decision to go for Nisqy pretty quickly after that. We had a conversation with him, and I talked to him about, his decision making around this role swap and whether or not he was ready, etc. But it was pretty quick that we committed to Nisqy. There were like other options, there were backups, but like we never really even got to the stage of talking to anyone else.
And how did you approach him? Because of course, he used to be a millionaire. So when you just call him and say, "Hey, Nisqy, we might have a spot for you, but you need to role swap," like, how did it work?
That was pretty easy. It was pretty easy. I mean, we actually maintained pretty good relationships with Nisqy anyway. Like he's a friend as well as a player that I've worked with before. Right, Nisqy and I worked together on 3 different years in the LEC, all the way back in 2018. We were both on our first ever LEC team together in Splice, and he's actually one of the players that he's one of the only people that I worked with that when my daughter was born, showed up at my house with like a gift bag and wanted to meet my daughter. You know, like he's a wonderful, wonderful person. So in terms of the barrier there on the conversation, it wasn't that difficult. Like we've been in contact with Nisqy a lot of times. You know, when kind of Mad Lions like broke up and we all left, he was a consideration for Vitality. Then he was a consideration again in 2024. So it's not like we haven't been in touch. And the subject of a role swap has been pitched to him before. It's been talked about in the past. So it honestly wasn't that difficult a conversation. You know, the conversation, Pad was the first one that got in contact with him because he happened to be seeing him like that day socially because we maintain a social relationship with him. And it was like, hey, we need to talk about something. It was like, are you asking me to be mid lane or support?
And it seems that you trust him like a lot, but can you explain to me your vision? Why do you see him succeed in the support role?
I think first of all, Nisqy as a character, or like as a person, just has so much character that is amazing for this specific role, right? Actually, a supportive mid laner was one of the things that he was absolute best at doing. He picked up other stuff over time, but like earlier on in his career, one of the big criticisms of Nisqy was that he wasn't this like hard carry player, right? And that's something that he learned over time and got really good at. And that is actually that dedication is something that is going to serve him really well in this role swap, right? Nisqy is the type of player that has, you know, like as all players do, as all of us do, myself included, we have natural limitations or things that we're not good at, right? And Nisqy over time outworked all of them until he won the LEC, right? That's his whole story, right? He's so incredibly determined and driven and proactive and hardworking. The first day that he came into the office, bear in mind, you know, like we had this conversation. He wasn't even signed for us. He immediately goes and starts grinding support in solo queue. Then the contract isn't even signed and he's like studying support VODs. The contract, like the verbal contract is made, agreement is made. He flies to Berlin the next day, meets me that day, like flies into Berlin, comes straight to the office and is like, hey, look at this carrier VOD with me. I have all these questions. Amazing, you know, absolutely amazing. Mechanically, he's an incredibly skilled player. You have to be a top mid laner, and Nisqy has objectively been a top mid laner in the league for a long time now. All the way since, I mean, he was obviously in NA, right? He won LCS and then came back, and you know, from 2021 onwards, I would say, like Fnatic, and then on Mad in 22, and then on Mad again in 23. Like Nisqy was a top mid laner, right? He had like a questionable year in SK, but he was still good. So I think support is a role that is a bit less complex than mid lane, right? Mid lane, the mechanical demand is very, very high. And then in support, like the game, how to put it? You need a lot of, I don't want to say experience, but you need to have a lot of composure and a lot of decisiveness to make good decisions in small time windows. And that's something that Nisqy is incredibly good at. Nisqy has always been a massive voice in our like team fighting understanding, for example, right? Team fight shot calling has always been one of Nisqy's things that he's just really, 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 really good at. And that's something that will transition well to support as well. So I think he has a lot of great qualities to be a good support.
And this is not linked to the Nisqy situation, but I guess you saw it that Riot Games decided to implement the fearless draft for the all seasons. So these new rules, do you think it affects in a good way or in a bad way a profile like Nisqy?
I think it's hard to say. I don't like to predict the future. We'll see. So far, I mean, we're obviously scrimming with Fearless every day, right? So far, I wouldn't say it's been an issue. In fact, I'd say Nisqy's champion pool is really, really, really solid already. Obviously, there are like holes, right? There are gaps, but for sure, like this, when a lot of different support champs are out in game 3, 4, 5 of Fearless, then you get a lot of angles to be creative, and you can bust out some funky stuff. And Nisqy can definitely do that. So yeah, that's an edge that he has, I would say.
We have been talking a lot about Nisqy, but I feel we also need to talk about Hylissang because, as you mentioned, Nisqy is your friends because you have your own history with these players. But it is the same case for Hylissang. So was it maybe a hard decision to make on the human level, for example?
Very, very hard. I mean, as a coach, I have to wear multiple hats, right? And being detached. Like detaching my personal relationship with Hilly from the decision is really difficult for me. I think I always try to, well, how to put it? I'd always try to remind myself that my job at the end of the day is to do what's best for the team and protect the team, right? And if I were to, keep someone on in a position that I didn't think was right for the team and that I thought was, going to be worse for the team over the long run, then I would be doing a disservice to everyone else, right? So, I mean, that's part of the job, right? It's my obligation to make hard decisions for the good of the whole. That's how it is. Does that mean that it's easy for me personally? No. Have I had to do it lots of times before? Yes.
And is Haley going to stick around, like to be in the 6-man rosters, to be in the coaching staff?
I don't think a 6-man roster would be appropriate. I don't think that you bring a new player in, especially in a role swap. Like I think the same role swap rookie, whatever it is, and then have someone else sitting behind them. And I think for Hilly as well, like coaching in this team would be difficult because it's the same thing, right? I think Hilly can be a good coach at some point, right? But I think he's not ready to give up on the idea of playing yet, right? And I think the worst thing you can do if you want to start a coaching career is do it when you're not ready and sit behind the person you're coaching and think, I should be doing this, I should be where they are, right? I should be playing. That would be a disaster for him emotionally, mentally. It wouldn't be a good transition into a coaching career. So I think he understands that. And so currently there's no plan for him to coach.
Of course, it's kind of easy to ask this question after what happened, but don't you have any regrets when we think about a player like Stend, because he was in your academy, and for example, Naak Nako and Cheh are doing great. I know that you let him leave to Team Heretics, and now that you need the support, so maybe some people might say, why didn't you keep Stend and give him a chance at the start of the year?
No, I don't have any regrets on that front. I think, from a results perspective, what we've ended up with is probably better, objectively speaking. I think comparing Nisqy to a lot of the less experienced supports in the league from scrims already, I would say he's doing better. I'd say he's more mechanically skilled, and I think he's going to get better over time. I think in order to get the best out of the roster that we have, having someone with Nisqy's degree of experience, Nisqy's character, like Nisqy's fit with the culture is just better. So from results perspective, I wouldn't say so. If I obviously I couldn't know that we were going to end up with Nisqy, right? From a hiring perspective, this is going to perhaps sound a little bit of a slight to Stend. I love Stend. Stend is amazing. We worked with Stend 1-to-1. I personally worked with Stend 1-to-1 a lot last year, so I know him really well, and we're still really friendly, and I love the guy to bits. I think in terms of personality, character, etc., he's an amazing fit with Vitality. He's such a hard worker. He's so coachable. He's so willing to please. He has a great champion pool. He has loads of really good traits. He's really high ranked in solo queue. He grinds a lot. Good communicator. There are loads and loads and loads of things to like about Stend. In terms of a few of the specific qualities that we think in-game qualities are really, really important for players to be hired at Vitality, I don't think Stend is the best fit at Vitality. So I probably wouldn't change the decision.
And to finish on the different options, do you mind elaborating a little bit on FleShy, the support from Vitality B? Was he also considered?
No, FleShy is. I think we put this on Twitter already, because this was something that was kind of related, and obviously fans brought it up and were a bit confused. Why is FleShy not being considered for this? FleShy is just not able to be considered because he doesn't have a visa, because he's a Turkish player, right? Getting a visa for a Turkish player takes 2 or 3 months at absolute fastest, which puts us the end of spring split regular season, which if you want to be a good team in time for playoffs and get enough best of fives to be a good team in time for worlds is just not possible. Not to mention there's no guarantee of actually getting a visa, and there are all kinds of contractual difficulties with that. So that just eliminated him from consideration, unfortunately.
I think we discuss a lot about the support situation, and I do appreciate your transparency about this, but I also want to have your takes on your 2 rookies, Naak Nako and cheh. Were you expecting to be that good since the beginning of the rookie season?
Yeah, we're pretty excited about both of them. Was I expecting them to have such a clean transition? Yes and no. I mean, we believed in both of them a lot. You never know how things are going to go in winter. I think typically LEC teams are not that good in winter, frankly. So no one is good yet. That takes time. It takes 3, 4, 5 months to become a really good team in League of Legends, in my opinion. And like, teams had 3 weeks of regular season best of ones into one playoffs. Like, that's just not enough time to become actually good. So you don't see that much of the differential yet. So it's nice we get to use winter as just a pure testing ground. And then spring split, we can be really methodical and really process focused because it's a bit longer, which is really, really, really good. But no, I've been really impressed with both of them. I would say that both of them overperformed compared to what you would typically expect of rookie solo laners in their first splits. I think there were loads of good things from them. Were those things surprises in the sense that like we didn't see those qualities in them when we hired them? No, I don't think so. And I think that speaks to the strength of kind of, we put a lot of time into figuring out exactly who it was that we wanted to hire. For like, who do we love working with? What do we think is important in a player to work at Vitality specifically? And also who fits best with the current players we have. I also love that we hired 2 guys that we know fit well together and have experience working together and have a great relationship together. Those 2 are amazing, amazing, amazing together. So I think there are lots of things leading into that were intentional. But yeah, they for sure were big positive surprises for a lot of people.
And making a roster change in the middle of seasons could be a hard thing to do. So do you have, I don't know, like lower goals, lower ambitions for now?
No, I mean, I think, if you make a roster change, the aim is to upgrade, right? And it's not like we've hired a rookie support. I mean, yes, he's a rookie support, but, this is part of the decision when it comes to like hiring someone like Nisqy versus hiring a rookie support. There are supports out there who I can go and be like, sure, we can hire this guy and maybe he knows the role better and maybe he knows the matchups better, maybe he knows the laning phase better, but he's never played a BO5 in the LEC. He's never played against top tier players and seen how much they pressure you, and Nisqy has, right? So I think he has a lot of advantages there, and I think that specifically means that I think that we should keep our expectations the same or higher. I think we all want to be really ambitious. Nisqy didn't join this team to not make worlds. Right? That's the aim at the end of the day. All of us, and I think there's a difference between what we all internally want, right, and then how we actually approach the year, right? I think all of us, obviously, we want to win LEC, we want to go to Worlds. That's every player's ambition and aim, and frankly, at some point, that's every player's expectation for their career. Otherwise, you might have an issue if that's not. But from the way that we're aiming to approach the split, our aim is just to improve every single day. That's it. And that's not easy. It's really easy to say, and it's theoretically really easy, but there are lots of things that hold you back over time, and our aim is to attack every single one of those obstacles one by one by one by one every single day together, with honesty and with determination and with grit and with resilience and with a lot of other qualities that are really integral to our values, right, that we have as a team. And if we do that, we're going to be a really good team. That's my expectation for the year. My expectation is that we improve every day, and then the results will take care of themselves, frankly.
And to finish this interview, because I will be soon out of time and I don't want to take too much of yours, I want to have like broader subjects bring at the tables. Because as you know, Vitality is a very successful org that have been winning on Valorant, CS obviously, even Rocket League. And on League of Legends, let's say that has been not as good.
It's been difficult to be a Vitality League of Legends fan.
And I'm speaking about both LEC and LFL, but does it bring you, I don't know, some extra pressure to succeed finally?
I think pressure is, how to put it, I think you have a choice in how you internalize that. You can choose to view that as pressure, or you can choose to view it as how inspiring it is that you're surrounded by amazing people. You can choose to view it as expectation from upper management, or you can choose to view it as the fact that you belong to a championship winning organization and that you're part of that story. And that's a privilege, right? And in many cases, pressure is a privilege, right? This is something that we talk to players about all the time on like a sports psychology front. If you feel pressure, if you feel nervous, if you feel stressed, if you feel scared, that's okay, because those are signals that you're doing something that matters to you. Those are signals that you're doing something important that you care about, where you're putting yourself on the line and you're sacrificing something for it. And that's what we're doing here, right? And that's a joy. So that's the way that I choose to see that.
Thank you, Mac. I'm done cooking. I do appreciate your time and your honesty. and just good luck for what is going to happen next.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a lovely evening.